Hey guys, my name is GabeXBoss, and today I will be sharing with you how I reach Grandmasters as a Yone one trick. So what I want to do today is kind of give you a set of guidelines to kind of help you operate the champion and kind of sort of know what to do at certain stages of the game. I'm going to assume that you've been playing Yone for some time, so I don't really want to get too into detail about mechanics. I'm just kind of show you the kind of mindset that you want if you want to be consistent on the champion and if you want to be climbing. So first of all, we're going to go over the runes that I've been using. And with Yone, there's basically three main rune setups that you're gonna go. I have my two tanky setup. This is Grasp of the Undying. This is really good for matchups that are very bruisey. Champions like Silas, champions like Renekton, Nasus. This will help you sustain through the lane and also kind of help you scale up because you'll be getting a lot of free health. And especially against Silas, I highly recommend Grasp of the Undying. Silas really likes to go in there and fuck you up with W and then get out. But with Grasp of the Undying, you kind of benefit from the playstyle. So at least you'll be trading with him sort of evenly because you also heal from it. And you get a little stronger each time. So the next setup, which is usually... I guess make a new one. It's fleet pool work. So we go fleet, we go absorb life, alacrity. If I'm going fleet, I most likely want to go cut down because I'm fighting mages. And I want to have like as much damage to poke down my opponents. This is kind of like a different way of playing Yone as well, because if you go fleet, you kind of sacrifice some DPS for sustain. This is really good against matchups that don't allow you auto attack very often. So champions like Syndra, for instance, are very difficult for you to stick to her because of her E. So with fleet, since she also is very oppressive in the early game, you'll be able to sustain and be able to keep on her a little better because of the move speed that you get from it. This used to be my go-to setup, but I think in Season 15, the meta's really shifted into more of an early game focused team fight objectives sort of thing with the whole Atacana thing and the feats of strength. So 90% of the time, you're going to be running Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo, you can either go cut down or last stand depending on of the matchup. If it's gonna be a lot of fighting, last stand might be good for you, but if you're fighting someone that's ranged and you still want to go Lethal Tempo, I think cut down's still a pretty good option. You pretty much have to run Resolve on Yone if you want to actually sustain through fights and not die all the time. So my go-to options are pretty much obviously taking Overgrowth all the time, pretty much. I rarely switch from it. And either I'll go second win against mages, mostly, and bone plating against bruiser champions. We also go scaling help. Now sometimes I used to go demolish, with overgrowth. This can be done. It's a little more greedy if you're confident that you can get through the laning phase against some matchups that maybe don't punish you as often. Then you can get away with demolish. It's really good for securing plates. I think it's very underrated. That's why Grasp of the Undying works really good as well, because you do get to run that all the time. So yeah, these are the best three rune setups that you're gonna be going on Yone, and they kind of are meant to help you into some situations. You know, ideally you want to be running Lethal Tempo when you can, but there's some matchups where that's just not ideal. So now I want to talk about the early game. Yone is not a very good early game champion. I think if you've been playing Yone, I would hope that you'd know that. So your early game plan is to secure as much CS safely as possible without getting too much damage done to you by your opponent. So the best way to do this is by always conceding the wave push in the first 3 waves. That means that you're gonna let your opponent push into you. So you want to auto attack as least as possible, and you want to make sure that you're only going for last hits. And ideally, you want to freeze the wave right in front of your turret and keep it there for as long as you can until you at least hit level 3. Once Yone becomes level 3, then he's able to fight most matchups because of his E and the trade that he had, the trade pattern that most Yones use, which is the E, Q, W, and then go back to your E. So it's very important, especially in top lane, if you're playing top lane Yone, that the first 3 waves, you want the wave on your side of the turret where you can safely farm and wait until you have your cooldowns. I mean, ideally, you shouldn't be even trying to fight people too much until you have boots, and then maybe with lethal tempo. But honestly, the best strat is to just get as best CS you can get. Usually, if you can out CS your opponent, that's great. If you're even on Yone, then you're actually ahead because he scales really good. And once you get your first item, which is, I mean, most of the time, the build that I've been going with Yone is Bork, Shieldbo, Infinity Edge. I was trying some different variations that are sometimes useful. Like against tanks, I was going Bork, Yuntao, Shieldbo, and I was actually skipping Infinity Edge because it was too expensive. And it's good into tanks because Bork on itself, because of the health damage on hit, the more attack speed you have, the better it works. And it's also a much cheaper build. But now that Infinity Edge got cheaper, I think the ideal build for Yone is Bork, Shiobo, Infinity Edge. Maybe if in the future they buffed his passive like they buff Yasuo, then maybe Yuntao may actually become a good first item choice. I just don't think at the moment it's that great. I think Bork is still the most dominant first item choice, even though I don't want it to be, because honestly, it's just boring going the same build every time. But ideally, your build is gonna be Bork, Shiobo, Infinity Edge, Death's Dance, and then your last item can be either Wits End if you need any sort of help against mages, or you can go Guardian Angel if you're into a lot of ADs and you want to just, if you're fed, it really helps with that. So we're just talking about the first few levels. So now let's say you got your first item, you got your Bork. Ideally, you want to get Bork before 15 minutes. 15 minutes is kind of like the average time that you'll get Bork. So if you can get Bork ahead of that, you're ahead and you're really good. If you get it after 15 minutes and you're a little bit behind, and you'll definitely feel it. So ideally, you want to get your Bork by 15 minutes or less. And also, at 14 minutes, the plates on the turrets fall. And that means that you're supposed to rotate to either top or bottom, usually bot, and bot will rotate to mid. And there's a reason why. Yone is actually a really good split pusher, and you want to be split pushing on him. So once 14 minutes come in, I mean, I usually go TP. I think TP is still the best summoner spell for Yone, to be honest. I mean, there's some matchups where maybe you go Exhaust or Ignite, but I think TP is very consistent. It helps with tempo. It helps, to get into fights. It allows Yone to split push more effectively because if you can split push, drop pressure, and then TP to an objective or a fight. So as Yone, past 14 minutes, what you should be doing is looking for turrets. So you want to be split pushing and you want to be drawing attention to yourself. Obviously, you don't want to be like stupid about it. You want to get out, by words. You want to make sure that the area you're split pushing is relatively safe. You'll see your opponents coming to you, or at least you want to make sure that your team is out there on the map contesting something, so that if you draw attention to yourself, then they can punish in some other way. So don't be the Yone that's just split pushing while the team is at base and then randomly gets ganked and dies. So that is your mid to late game strategy, is to
20.
split push until objectives come, and then you can go rotate to an objective, fight with your team, or you can split push and then TP to an objective. That works too. Ideally, you want to be looking for farm and you want to be looking for turrets. Turrets give you a lot of gold, especially tier 2 turrets. You really want to be focusing on getting those if you can. Now, when it comes to late game, you should be playing for Baron. So split pushing is one of Yone's best assets, I guess, as a champion. The strategy remains fairly consistent. You just want to be focusing on the Barons or securing dragons. Whatever gives you that slight edge you need to close the game. It's usually Baron or it's Soul. So you want to make sure that you're applying pressure on the map and then securing those crucial objectives. One other thing I want to mention is that if you're able to record your games, it will be really good for you to do so, because that's where you're going to be learning, where you're going to be making some slight mistakes, especially when it comes to getting better at tempo or being at the right place at the right time. So I highly recommend that you watch your own games and see where you died or see where something didn't go the way you wanted to, and then you'll usually notice that you did something, or there was something that you could have done different that may have maybe prevented that from happening or just helped your situation. So I think it's very important, if you're wishing to improve, of course, to look at your own gameplay and review it, and hopefully notice the mistakes you're making, because you have to have a healthy ego to know that we're all human, we're all learning all the time. So you want to be able to recognize that, so you can look at what you're missing, what your weaknesses are. Are you someone that's very good at macro, but it's not very good mechanically? So you really have to take a an overview of yourself and kind of see where you lack. For me, I'm gonna give you an example. I was always a very good mechanical player, but I didn't have a lot of map awareness or even like just game knowledge. So over time, I had to kind of like look at myself and evaluate, about what am I lacking as a player, and that kind of came to mind. So then I went and watched the videos. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that will teach you macro, what tempo is, how to split push, because there is the proper way of split pushing, and they're all free. You can go on YouTube and watch all these videos, and it will help you tremendously. You just have to like really take it in, and over time, you'll notice an improvement. Another thing is you have to be consistent. You gotta be playing ranked like every day. Like it took me, I want to say, 2 years to pick Yone and to master him to the ranked that I'm at. That's saying I've been playing League for way longer than that. I was actually an ADC main. So then after I mained ADC for a couple of years, then I actually decided to start maining Yone in mid lane. So it took me like 2 years of playing several hours a day to get to Grandmasters with Yone. So obviously there's gonna be some time requirement, but if you want to achieve Grandmaster and you really enjoy the champion, it's possible, you know. Another thing that I want to mention is as you climb higher up the ranks, you'll notice that Yone gets banned. Well, I mean, probably lower elos too. Yone's just an infamous character. So it's important that you have at least two backup champions in case the Yone gets banned or someone picks it for you. So my backup champions have always been Yasuo because it's very similar to Yone. I mean, it's a little different on playstyle, but the mechanics are usually, they're pretty on par. And I've been playing a lot of Aurora, although my win rate, as you can see, it's not so great. But I mean, I had been just actually it was a lot worse. So I've been getting better at it. So it's good to have at least two more champions that you can fall back in case Yone gets banned or gets picked. If Yone gets picked into you and you want to know the best champions to counter him, I think Vex, Syndra, even Aurora are really good Yone counters. So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to give you a little guideline. If you are a inspiring Yone main, I wish you the best of luck. We're not very liked in the community, so you will experience a lot of ganks, honestly. You're a champion that draws a lot of attention. That's why I think in the early game it's very good for you to freeze and be safe because you do scale really good. All right, guys, that pretty much sums it up. I didn't want to make the video too long. I think they require information that you may need to achieve your goals. It may not be Grandmasters, it could be Diamond or Platinum or whatever, but I think this is the right mindset you want to have when playing Yone. If you enjoyed the content or learned something new, I would appreciate a like. I also do stream on YouTube and Twitch by the same name, GameX Boss. So if you want to kind of get a little hands-on coaching, you can watch me there. Anyways, I wish you the best in your climb and thank you for watching. Peace.